Hey everybody, welcome back to Listography and our albums of the year. Jason, Kramzer, and Joe here, and we are picking our favorite albums of 1977. So I think the big thing in 77, I think this is a big year for disco and a big year for punk. With disco, you got Saturday Night Fever coming out and Donna Summer releasing I Feel Love, which is maybe the biggest hit of the disco era. As far as punk goes, you've got The Clash releasing their debut album, the Sex Pistols. You also have the first Talking Heads record, and you also have the first Elvis Costello record, which is maybe punk adjacent. The biggest hits of the year are Rod Stewart's Tonight's the Night and I Just Want to Be Your Everything by Andy Gibb. You've got a little bit of tragedy. Elvis Presley dies. Led Zeppelin cancel the end of their North American tour after Robert Plant's son dies. Marc Bolan's killed in a car crash, and Lynyrd Skynyrd's plane goes down, killing several members of the band. You also have some new bands forming, not necessarily releasing records in 77, but you see the starts of Adam and the Ants, Bad Brains, the Buggles, Def Leppard, Dire Straits, the Germs, the Human League, INXS, Men Without Hats, the Pat Metheny Group, the Police, the Psychedelic Furs, and Ram Jam. Not a lot of major breakups, but one interesting one, I think, for us guys from Pittsburgh would be the Jaggerz breakup, setting Donnie Iris free to go solo. Also, you have Elvis Costello's infamous SNL appearance, where he, mid-song, swapped what song he was playing and then was banned from ever playing on SNL again. And you also have Bing Crosby's final Christmas special, which he duetted with David Bowie on Little Drummer Boy, which is one of my favorite Christmas songs of all time. And aside from all this going on, you also have some just like major blockbuster records that sell a gajillion copies, like Rumours, Out of the Blue, Bat Out of Hell, and The Stranger. Just mega multi-platinum selling records, all of them. So yeah, so a lot of good stuff. And it's sort of like, this is, you sort of feel music starting to change in 77, I think, a bit, moving towards sort of what the 80s would be, with kind of like a new wave sort of thing happening. So yeah, 77 is a pretty big year, pretty monumental, a lot of big records to choose from, but let's see what you got.
All right. I think this one was considerably better than 76, evidence in the ones that I really like that I couldn't cut or couldn't make the list. Draw the Line by Aerosmith, I like a good bit, couldn't make it. The Peter Gabriel solo debut, I like a good bit, couldn't make it. Talking Heads debut, didn't make the cut. But the ones that did are going to be Marquee Moon by Television, Asia by Steely Dan. I've also got my first Rush installment with A Farewell to Kings. And then I've got Low by David Bowie, an album that I always was told and expected to love, and I didn't really like it the first couple times I listened to it 10, 15 years ago. And I gave it another shot knowing I was doing 77 because it's so highly regarded, and I was wrong for all of those years. So I've got Low by David Bowie. And speaking of being wrong, I consider myself a fairly intellectual, smart guy, but the argument against that is I went 32 years of my life disliking Fleetwood Mac. The best album of 1977 is Rumours by Fleetwood Mac.
Write down that.
He says the grand prize.
I got into it a couple years ago, and I'm so mad at myself for not listening to it more growing up. It's awesome. Rumours, Fleetwood Mac, it's just like this epic blockbuster, all adult alternative like hits album. It's really grand but rootsy at the same time. It's kind of like a James L. Brooks movie. It's just like this big cast of characters falling in and out of love and heartbreak, and it's really peppy, but full of sorrow and despair and anguish. The way just kind of the acoustic strumming plays like a percussive element is really cool. You got Don't Stop, Go Your Own Way, Dreams, Songbird, The Chain, You Make Love and Fun, Gold Dust Woman, bunch of different singers, have great moments. It's fantastic all the way through. I'm an idiot for not enjoying for a longer duration in my life. So this was an easy number one for me. Believe the rumors, they're all true. Fleetwood Mac, Rumours.
It is a great album. It is on my list of 1977, one of the runners-up. It's just every song is a killer. I love the dynamic between Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham. They obviously kind of like hate each other, and they're making each other sing songs about how much they don't like that person anymore. So it's really fun stuff. Also on my list, I have Asia from Steely Dan, which completes, I believe, 6-7 years in a row of Steely Dan. They never got the top spot, but every one of their albums has made my list so far. I also have Street Survivors by Lynyrd Skynyrd, the last one they would make. Really like the addition of Steve Gaines. It's my favorite Lynyrd Skynyrd album. That Smell is one of my all-time favorite songs. Just so badass. No, it's. I used to hate it too. That was the thing. I used to think it was lame, and then just unbelievable guitar. One of the best guitar tracks of all time. I also have Animals by Pink Floyd. The guitar work by David Gilmour is incendiary on this one, and it's just mean. Like the whole album has this like mean vibe to it that I really like. But number one, all those things that Jason was saying about punk and new wave and a dawn of a new era of rock. Well, none of those apply to this one. I got Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf as my number one.
Right down that.
He says the grand prize winner.
And it's credited to Meatloaf, but it's really a three-person, if not more, kind of creation. Jim Steinman wrote all the lyrics and most of the arrangements. He had Todd Rundgren doing production on a bunch of tracks, playing guitar on the opener, which just awesome. The way he makes himself sound like a motorcycle is just ridiculous. Just incredible guitar work. Meatloaf's voice, it's this big kind of throwback. I mean, it's literally the opposite of punk music. It is operatic, completely over the top. It's like the best Bruce Springsteen album, the one that he should have made. It's kind of that feel, although Steinman kind of denies being influenced by Springsteen. You can definitely kind of see it's just like Springsteen turned up to 11, pretty much. Great ballads. In Heaven Can Wait, and 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad, For Crying Out Loud. You got Paradise by the Dashboard Light, just no weak tracks, just kind of the ultimate sort of, rock opera over the top, kind of last gasp of the 70s maximalist production. And I just love every single second of it. It's one of my top 10 favorite albums of all time. It was a good year. A lot of albums that I had to leave off that I didn't want to, like The Stranger and a couple others, Farewell to Kings, News of the World. But yeah, just Meatloaf, number one, baby.
Do you prefer meatloaf with a tomato sauce or a brown gravy?
I like the kind of ketchup when it gets nice and like brown and crispy and very good.
He knows his meatloaf, that's for sure. Bat Out of Hell misses my list by the narrowest of margins. Very, very close. One of many fantastic Todd Rundgren productions. But the 5 that I've got are going to be My Aim Is True by Elvis Costello. It was number 10 on my Elvis Costello listography video, and I got a lot of criticism for it, for putting it that low, but I just like a lot of Elvis Costello albums, and I think there's probably going to be, a recurring theme on my list going into the 80s with him appearing. I've also got Out of the Blue by ELO. They're big double album, just great. Everything that they do very well, and it's a perfect example of, if you want to hear what ELO is all about, that's maybe the one to go to first. I've also got the debut album by Talking Heads 77. And then for my number one spot, it came down to 2 albums going head to head. I came very close to going with this one in the number one spot, but the runner up is going to be the debut album by Cheap Trick. I think one of the best rock debuts of all time. Every track is killer. Rick Nielsen is on fire on this record. Robin Zander sounds fantastic, and the rhythm section is just so tight, and it's amazing. But yeah, I love this record. But number one, Cram nailed it. It's Rumours for sure.
Right down that.
He says the grand prize winner.
Everything he said about it is on the money. The only thing that I would add is how good it sounds. It is a marvel of recording, engineering, mixing, mastering. It sounds so good, especially Dreams. Dreams might be one of the best sounding tracks ever recorded. It's amazing. Just a fantastic record. There's one track on it that I don't love as much as the other ones, which is Don't Stop. I think it's a little cheesy for my taste. There's a great track from the same sessions called Silver Springs that didn't make the record. If I could swap out Don't Stop for Silver Springs, it would just be a perfect album. But yeah, those are my picks for 77. What do we got coming in 78? A lot more change, I think, still coming in the air in 78. So I'm excited to see where we go with those picks. So hopefully you'll all leave a comment below with your 77 picks. Like the video, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. We will see you in 78.